Hello, right. So there's been a last minute change. Ruckus has been grounded. No, his wife's called. He's had to shoot. It's nothing like an emergency, I don't believe. So, praise the Lord for that. So, what I thought was I had a list of questions for Ruckus. Now, these are subjective answers. So, like they're not definitive on the case or anything. So I thought if people do want to come up and they do come up, then I could ask you guys them questions and see what your thoughts are on there. As for everything else, I've had to completely change it around, but we will get there. We will get there. So, uh, everyone who's here, welcome. Everyone who's new, welcome. Everybody who's from the Facebook group, welcome. I have pinned the Facebook group at the top of the chat, along with True Crime Web's channel. Go over to Steve. He works behind the scenes with cases. Fantastic forensics work he does on his channel. The Facebook group, I'm nothing to do with it. They run their own thing. If you're going over there, be respectful. They've been nothing but respectful and supportive of me. So I expect the same back. So what we're going to do, we're going to break down Drew's live a bit. As you can see, I was late because I was changing things up clips-wise. We'll go over the DNA support, the DNA tech updates. I'll try and answer questions, but if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to blag yous and tell you the wrong answers. But I have, again, like I said, I've changed the clips up. Aurora got the clips for us. So thank Aurora for the work she did on that. The clips hopefully give us answers. I just want to point out, I'm not covering Evansdale how the Delphi creators covered Delphi. I'm just giving it awareness. Ruckus come to me and said, would I have Drew on? I said, of course. Now I want to break down that live, put it in a different format for people, and just go over the case in general with people that want to go over the case. So there's that. So Ruckus and Steve have been they work cases behind the scenes. So if the case isn't solved, they don't go in and take over. They go in, they support the families, and they work like they'll do experiments. So Steve will set up like forensic experiments to do, and then recommend them to the teams, and that they'll go around and they'll talk to locals and get to know the families and find out what the families know. So that's what they do. They work actually. Mainly Steve worked for a foundation, so it's actually a foundation that they work for, it's a fantastic foundation. What they do is amazing, and that's why I was having Ruckus up today, because he knows Drew better than he knows his own wife. I could tell you, like on an evening when we're in Voices on an evening, me, Aurora, and Ruckus will sit there, and all he talks about is Evansdale. It's all he talks about. He's constantly saying there's a lot that he can't tell us. We watched a documentary with him, and he got us hooked. But again, I'm not going to be covering it like how the Delphi guys covered that. I'm just going to bring it awareness, as I have done, and going forward, maybe do it once a month like how I do the Flora. I think that's it for the breakdown of the live. So let's go into the case a bit and go over what actually happened. So July 13th, 2012, the two cousins went out for a bike ride and never came home. 10-year-old Lyric Cook and 8-year-old Elizabeth Collins were abducted from Myers Lake. They left their grandmothers at around 12:15 p.m. and their grandmother told Lyric and Elizabeth, be back soon. After an hour, the girls had still not returned home. To their grandmother, sorry. The girls were last sighted alive between 12:30 and 1 p.m. on Gilbert Drive, next to Myers Lake. On the 5th of December 2012, sadly, Lyric and Elizabeth were found deceased. They were found 20 miles from where they were last sighted, and they were found at Seven Bridges. On the 5th of December, oh no, we've already done that. Today, oh no, we haven't got Drew. So we haven't got Drew. So that's what happened. So I thought, like, we'd ask I had a list of questions for Ruckus, but they're subjective questions that anyone can come up and answer. So, because Ruckus isn't here, I'm going to open the panel sooner than thingy. I'll have you up one at a time. I don't want to have 3 or 4 people up here and everyone's over talking each other, and then someone doesn't get a say, and the other two do get a say. So, if I have you up one at a time, and you can tell me what you think of the case, what you think happened, or if you've got we'll just discuss it. We'll find out. Hi, Trico and Mona. Here's the link for if you want to come up. I have got the footage again. I've got Myers Lake, and then I've got the pathway where they believe they was abducted, and where the remains were found. I've got them 3 clips. But first of all, why not, while we're waiting, go over the new DNA footage information.
It is one of the most notorious unsolved cases in Iowa. 13 years ago this week, 2 young cousins were abducted while on a bike ride in Evansdale. There are still no arrests in their deaths. KCCI's Laura Terrell got an inside look on where the case stands today and how the DCI Crime Lab is using new technology to try to catch the killer.
Her smile, her love for life. She just loved life. She could be in trouble and she still would be smiling.
It's been 13 years since Drew and Heather Collins have seen their daughter Elizabeth smile in person.
We've missed a lot. My kids have missed out on their sister. Lyric's family's missed out on her.
Divorced now, they sit side by side in this interview with the same goal.
We just want justice. Those girls deserve justice.
For more than a decade, they've waited for answers that never come.
Every day to me is just kind of like a nightmare.
Best friends since they were babies, cousins Elizabeth and Lyric did everything together, including that bike ride on July 13th, 2012.
I said, we have to call the police right now. I said, something's not right. I said, we need to call them right now.
When 10-year-old Lyric and 8-year-old Elizabeth did not return home, police scoured Evansdale and eventually found their bikes right here in this remote part of the trail behind Myers Lake.
It's covered with trees. You can't hear anything. It's the perfect place to take a couple kids.
Elizabeth's favorite purse thrown over this chain link fence.
He sent me a picture and asked me if that was hers. I just was like, they're gone.
5 months later, hunters found the girls' bodies in a remote wooded area about 20 miles outside of town.
You know, I have a few people on my list that makes good sense. It could be them.
Drew firmly believes the killer is someone local who knows the area well. But 13 years later, still no arrests.
Why do you think this case is so difficult to solve?
That's a good question.
DCI agent Scott Rieger is in charge of this case. He says while double child abductions are rare, police are often inundated with a massive amount of tips right away.
When you get a lot of information at the same time, it's not to stay focused. It's hard to be focused on one particular lead and really run that to ground.
Rieger says they have followed up on 2,000 leads in this case. 5 investigators are still actively working it today.
Do you have people of interest?
I never commented on like, hey, we have people of interest, here's a suspect. We regularly get names of people. Sometimes they're people we've already vetted, sometimes they're different individuals.
Even 13 years later, Rieger believes time is on their side when it comes to catching the killer or killers.
There's things that you can do now in 2025 that we weren't able to do down, in 2020 or 2012.
You can actually see where the stains are.
Yeah, so that's part 1 of the clip. I just want to apologise again to those coming in or whatnot. Ruckus isn't here tonight. He's had to pull out last minute. I've arranged it so we can do it differently, but still do majority of what we planned. I've got clips, so if people have got questions, hopefully the clips from the live the other day can give us the answers that we need. If anybody wants to ask about the location, we can get the locations up. Depending on what location you want, we'll pull it up and you can have a look. So does anyone want to come up now and speak while I go over the next clip? Teddy's in the background. Right, Teddy, I'm just play on this clip and then I'll pull you up.
KCCI got a rare look inside the DCI crime lab, where scientists are using the newest technology to try to solve this case. That includes upgraded alternative light sources to examine evidence. Criminalist Alex Hagar uses fake evidence to show us.
Now you can see easily where some of these stains are.
Perhaps the most important new technology in the lab is a software program called StarMix. Since April, they've used it to separate out mixtures that contain DNA from multiple people.
So now we're able to say much more about a minor component of a DNA in a mixture, which quite often is the really probative evidence or the important part of the mixture that we need.
Criminalists also have upgraded machines to extract DNA from physical evidence. That means they can pull DNA from samples that are degraded from being out in the weather.
The instruments now are more sensitive, more capable than they would have been in 2012.
For the first time, we are learning how much DNA has been tested in the Evansdale case. Halverson says the DCI crime lab has written 30 reports. 20 of those include results of DNA testing on evidence that has been collected from the crime scenes.
You guys have a lot of evidence, essentially.
Yes, it is a lot, very much so. A typical case, a general run-of-the-mill case, will just have one report.
Scientists develop a DNA profile which looks like this, peaks on a piece of paper. They then compare those to known samples to try to develop investigative leads.
Do you think this case is solvable?
Absolutely.
Rieger says persistence will solve this case. He's not giving up, and neither are Drew and Heather Collins.
This person is still out there, and are they going to do it again?
Elizabeth would have turned 22 years old this year, Lyric 24. Their young faces now permanently smile on benches and plaques not far from where they disappeared.
We're not going to slow down. We're going to keep going until the day we die.
Those girls really, really deserve justice. And I want to mention, we asked Lyric's mom, Misty Cook, for an interview for this story. She politely declined. Last month, she was charged with conspiracy with intent to manufacture or deliver meth and conspiracy with intent to manufacture or deliver marijuana. She and Lyric's father, Dan Morrissey, have had a long history of drug use that's been very public. The DCI says these new charges don't really change anything in the investigation. We asked. The DCI has always declined to comment or speculate on if drugs could have played a role in the girls' abduction and death. And we want to mention that investigators still really want people to pass on any information that they know. The best way to do that is right on your screen there. It's an email, our missing Iowa girls at dps.state.ia.us. Ben.
All right, Laura, so you asked if they thought that this case was solvable. Do they think they're any closer to actually solving it?
You know, that's a question I ask every year, and Agent Rieger says we are closer every single year because even the doors that close or that don't work out, or the things we can check off our list that are not the person, makes us that much closer to the answer. So he really believes that they are taking steps and getting closer and closer to the truth.
Yeah, we all hope to see that day. Laura, thanks as usual for your wonderful reporting.
Thank you.
So Aurora recorded an ad for us there. Hello, Teddy.
How's it going?
Aha. See, some people was having audio issues because StreamYard's changed, and yeah, it's all wacky. Yeah. So, what do you think of Evansdale? Do you want me to try the questions out on you?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. So the DNA is great news. Do you believe that we'll have answers soon regarding an arrest?
I wouldn't say an arrest necessarily, because it could be that Michael Klunder is the guy. We don't know that. So if that's the case,
Yeah.
At least we'll know, and at least they'll have some type of closure in that sense. But it would be disappointing if he was the person and they can't get any answers from him.
Yeah, it would. Let me just change the layout. Yeah, definitely. So, do you think the case is solvable then?
Yeah, I think any case is solvable. It just depends on the specifics of it and what you need to find the person. I mean, it sounds like they have quite a bit of DNA, but I assume being out in the elements for as long as they were, I'm sure there's a lot of animal DNA that was around them.
6 months, I believe.
Yeah. But there have been cases that have come down to the tiniest bit of DNA left, and 50 years after the crime happened, but they've been able to solve it. So hopefully, if they're saying they have what they have, even if it's not a lead directly back to the person that committed the crime, it might be DNA from somebody else they had an interaction with that day that wasn't on police radar, you know?
Yeah,
and it
parents.
might put one more piece of the puzzle in line for them.
Okay, so Klunder was sentenced to 40 years for his first crime, very similar crime. He only served 20. Do you think the prosecutor should push for life with no parole, regardless of who done it?
As far as the crime that we know he committed?
Well, the first crime, yeah, he abducted 2 toddlers,
right,
and he believed
left them in the trash.
Them. Yeah, but he didn't.
Yeah,
he didn't actually kill them.
If you're asking me, I'd say off with his head. Why waste taxpayer dollars on somebody that
They don't have the death penalty, you know. I looked it up.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But either way, somebody that did something like that, I don't care how good you are in prison, that makes no difference. You still have the ability.
Well, his prison. It was eerie because, like, some of the samples might be from the bikes, phones, and purses. I'm with Teddy. So, what was I saying? So, what was you saying?
I don't remember. I'm reading Aurora's comment. I agree. Yeah, some of the samples might be from the bikes, and if the person that took them grabbed onto the bike, I don't know why it would be so difficult to pull DNA from that. Why they would need special equipment.
I think what it is that could what it is the all the DNA that I think it's like mixed DNA. So what
Mhm.
this does is it vibrates it and it allows them to separate. And also
Right.
because of them being outside, the DNA might have like decayed or you know what I
Yeah.
mean. This can rebuild it.
Oh yeah. No, I just meant like with the bikes and the person, the stuff that they found right away. If there's stuff on there that they found, I wouldn't assume that it would be degraded or you think about mixed DNA, you think about a bloody crime scene where the victim's blood is there and they might have some of the perpetrator's DNA in that. That's one of those cases where I could see them wanting to find a way to separate it out. But for the early stuff that I'm sure they took prints from the bikes and if there was any fibers or anything on the purse from the person that took them, that was just my response to Aurora. But yeah, no. The other DNA that was probably found at the crime scene, yeah, I'm sure between degradation and mixing with animals in the area and everything else that this technology is going to be helpful to them.
Well, hopefully, yeah. Is there any
Yeah.
questions that you wanted to ask regarding it, and if I can answer it, or I might have a clip that answers it.
Not necessarily anything that I think I'll get answers to, but I mean, like I mentioned to you before, I don't go right away to the conspiracy aspect of, were they lured there? Like, I think if they were lured there, it was somebody that saw them out riding their bikes and then decided to kind of
Yeah.
meet them off at the pass and like lured there as far as that.
Oh, I see
Yes.
what you mean.
But I don't know. I stick to the simple questions like, what type of place is Evansdale? Obviously, the person that took them was in the area. So you're either looking for somebody that lives there, or if it's a place that people usually pass through to get to wherever they're going, then it could have been somebody just passing through. But there are a lot of places out that way that nobody really goes unless you work in the area or you live there. Like, were there any people working on someone's house, a painter, anything, somebody doing yard work for somebody?
Someone fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a
Well,
lake right there, weren't there?
yeah. I mean, I don't know if people usually went there to fish, but
You've
how
you've
many
seen
people?
the area, haven't you? Have you seen like the abduction point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'll play the clip anyway, so you can get a feel for it while you talk about it. Oh no, I don't want to delete it. See, StreamYard's changed everywhere. So like normally my clips are in a line, but they're all over the place now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. I mean, that is the best spot, for lack of a better term, if you're going to take somebody in that area. That's the
Yeah.
most secluded you can get. But in my mind, it's like they were riding bikes. If they went down that way, I'm sure they went down there on their own accord. It just happened to be somebody that was near that area that saw them. Maybe they stopped for a second. Maybe they got a little tired out. It was hot that day. And they stopped right
Yeah.
there, and that's where the opportunity arose.
Mr. Steve.
Mr. Steve.
You know what he does on his channels, I think it's unreal. Like
Yeah,
the way
it's
he
awesome.
like shows what like I mean I don't know if you was watching him before trial. He like literally gave you the blueprint of what to watch out for. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well,
So if you're gonna go to a trial, that's the guy you want to watch, any.
yeah. Well, I saw some of his stuff that he did, some of the blood pattern stuff that he did, and then he was really thorough with his experiment. I thought it was really good. If people want to know what goes on behind the scenes to get the answers that they got, that's who you want to watch.
Did you see him drag his wife across the field?
Well, that was a members only, I think.
I don't think it was. I think he put it open to members because of the complaints he got. But you see
Oh.
that white little thing then that was on the floor, that's where the purse was, and where the bag is, that's where the bikes were around about.
Yeah, well, I heard some of the discussion about if the bikes were placed there by them and then they got taken, which I don't think that's the case because if the purse was thrown over the fence, I would think that
Yeah.
was the person that took them. So everything else in the area, the
Well,
bikes.
with you know, with the bikes, I believe someone come forward when they were saying like, "Oh, this is where the bikes were found." Someone come over and said, "No, no, I put them there."
Oh, like a law enforcement or something?
No, like I think like it was just someone that was, you know, like walking past or something, and he moved them because like they were probably on the floor or something. Do you know what I mean? And he moved
Oh,
them against the fence, and
well,
he carried on, and then he must have been coming back through later on, and he overheard him talking about, oh, well, this is where the bikes was found, and he was like, no, no, the bikes were here. I put them there because they was in the way.
that's kind of weird to me. If you see two little girls' bikes just laying there and there's no one else around, that would give me cause for concern. So the fact that he took the time to put the bikes over against the fence and then just walked away,
Yeah.
like that's
I mean, like in an area like this, I'd normally disagree, but there's a fence either side, so I get what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, think about it. You're taking a walk. I don't know how many people were in the area of Myers Lake that day and at that time, but if this guy was just taking a walk and you see two little girls' bikes, and it's not an area that people are going to get off their bike and go, there's no place to play. It's fenced in. It's just
Yeah,
a trail. So to me, I would look at that guy with a little bit of suspicion. I'm sure they did if they know about him, but I don't know, just kind of weird to me.
yeah.
Let's see.
See, for me, like, because when I first heard about it and that, I imagined it was all open, like,
Hmm.
because I don't know if I'd seen the drone footage. Well, I hadn't saw the drone footage, but I'd saw pictures of the lake. So let me
Hmm.
just get the lake up for you. But I'd seen this, so I imagined it was all open. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't realize, and then when I watched the documentary Ruckus. Ruckus told me about this footage. He said you can use whatever footage you want off my channel, and so I went straight for the drone footage to have a look at it. I muted him and I filmed it so we could have it playing. And
That's
you
probably for the
see
best.
that he actually does a good walkthrough. It's just like so I can play it and we could like we haven't got a mute. Do you know what I mean? We could talk
Yeah.
just sort of a bit of visual. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's important. I don't. It, was that taken around the time, like in 2012, or is that newer footage?
This footage, I can tell you when Ruckus uploaded it.
Well, that's not really going to tell you whether or not
Well,
when it was
he
taken.
uploaded it a year ago, so I'm guessing it might be newer stuff.
Well, I think he said too at the time that this all happened, the lane of the highway closest to the lake wasn't open, right?
So I don't know, but I know it's got to be recent because the island on the lake was apparently just overgrown and a complete mess. But they use it now because of the girls.
Right. Okay, it's new footage. All right. Yeah, I mean, you got to look at how much the area's changed over that amount of time. If you're going to look at footage like this and try to make comparisons and assumptions on what might have happened, but it doesn't look
Yeah.
like anything in that specific area has changed much. But it's weird. I
Oh,
mean,
well,
two abductions at the same time, we all know it's rare. So it's either somebody had a lot of
yeah.
balls to go out and do that, and it was their first time
Well,
doing something like that.
three have happened. Oh, you'll never guess who's just turned up.
Oh boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ruckus.
Uh-oh.
Oh, he's muted.
Oh, the infamous Ruckus Rocks.
Yeah.
Sorry,
How you doing,
I'm
Ruckus?
late. Sorry, I'm late, brother.
No, it's all right. It's all right. You got to do what you got to do. Family first.
That
I did. I made an announcement that you'd been grounded.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's not too far off.
He's only got 10 minutes, then he's got to go back inside.
Yeah, but I took that video almost 2 years to the day.
Okay.
So now on the highway, it was the lanes closest to the park that were open. The furthest ones were closed.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and that's when that gentleman saw, and he knew Elizabeth because he'd worked for Drew's mom. So he knew who Elizabeth was. And he saw her walking the bike. He didn't know Lyric, but he said it was two girls. One of them was Elizabeth, and they were walking their bikes towards the area with like this way. They're facing this way.
Look at that, the numbers have jumped up now. You've turned up. They probably thought, "Oh God, it's just him on his own. I ain't listening to this."
It's the freak show. They're here for the freak show. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean them walking the bikes. I would like to say because it was so hot that day that maybe they got a little tired out and they decided to stop riding for a little bit. But at the same time, you would think it would be more of an effort to get off and walk your bike rather than just kind of riding slow. So I don't really know. Yeah.
But where they were, if you're looking down from that drone angle, right? They're walking from south to north, and north is where they found their bikes. That whole area is downhill. You coast it. You don't even pedal. You would just coast it, and it's to shade. It's all shady there. So you think if they got off because they were hot, that they'd just suffer it out. If they were familiar with that area.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I'm thinking they probably were,
Well,
they've got to have been with. They've got to have been with where the remains were found because that is secluded and. Do you know what I mean? They've got to have known that area to even go there.
Yeah,
I was
you would
muted.
assume. I thought you was talking about the girls knowing that area, like the area of the lake. I don't know if.
Yeah, look, I'll show you. I'll show you what I mean. This area where they were found.
Mm-hmm. No, I know exactly what you're talking about with that. You were talking about the person that took them there had to have been familiar with it. I thought Ruckus was saying he wasn't sure if the girls were familiar with the area around the lake. Like, I don't know. They were young. I don't know how far they've been allowed to roam from home.
I know Elizabeth wasn't allowed to.
That was going to be my next question. What?
Can you answer? Sorry. Can you answer this, Ruckus? Well, I know there's Michael Clunder, but do you know of any other public persons of interest? I'm not asking you to,
Yeah, in my opinion, now law enforcement, they wouldn't share with me who their persons of interest were, and I don't blame them. But you got Clunder, and there's a gentleman named Gamerdinger that inserted himself into this case and then lawyered up straight away. As soon as law enforcement wanted to speak with him, he lawyered up. And he has kind of a sketchy past. So those two are definitely on top. But now there's
definitely. Well, I don't know how they can rule Clunder out at all, but again, that could be Like, they want eyes off. In my opinion, they've done that because Clunder's deceased, to take eyes off him because they don't think he worked alone. So forget about Clunder. We want information on other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's possible. And like I said before, law enforcement uses the media as a tool. So, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist.
No, go on.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that they're like, well, no, we ruled him out because his phone wasn't in the area. Well, okay, he could have left his phone at home, which he would have because he was on parole and he wasn't able to leave the state without permission.
It could also be like Drew was saying, when Clunder was brought into like the circle of interest, it harmed the case. So that could be another reason why they're saying forget about him, because people stop giving tips in because, like, oh well, if it was Clunder, he's deceased. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, there's another theory too. He could have said that he was checking his stock ticker, so they were probably able to confirm that, and then they just moved on.
They're not related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm gonna peace out. I'll let Ruckus take the top spot. It was his live, anyways. So I'll be in the background watching.
Thanks, Teddy.
Yep.
Thanks for coming up, Teddy.
No problem.
So I replaced you, Ruckus.
It's
Teddy's
not
a
hard
good
to
little
replace
detective.
me.
So Denise says, were the bikes found with the girls? No. So the girls were at the abduction point. No, sorry. The bikes were found at the abduction point. I'll play that footage again. Let this one finish. And I'll play it again and look for a backpack, Denise. The backpack is where the bikes are found.
Correct. Yep. And
this is where the remains were found, Denise. Like this, in this area, not this exact area, but in this location.
Yeah, the girls were abducted at Myers Lake, and they were found, their remains were found 6 months later, about 26 miles away in a wildlife refuge area, very remote area.
Yeah.
And I don't know who else in chat. I know Jinx is. I seen her. I don't know if Rescue is. They've been there, so they can attest to how
Rescue's in the chat.
And when they went,
okay, so Denise, hang on, Denise. If you watch this footage that I'm going to play now, look for the backpack. When you see Mr. Steve walking, keep an eye out for a backpack, and it'll be on the left-hand side. Go on, Ruckus.
Yeah, so this is the area. It's hard to see because the drone has a gimbal, so it stays level. Now, I'm just walking behind the drone. I'm flying it. But this is all downhill. Yeah. And when you see Mr. Steve, you can see just to the left, you can see the gates. There's a little like drain area if they ever have to drain the pond, or if there's overflow, if there's a lot of rain or whatever, and runoff from the highway goes there. So that's what that gate is for, so they can do maintenance on that. But the gate's never locked. And now you can see both sides of the fence here are pretty clear. That's not what it was like. The left side here looked like the right side back then. It was overgrown right up to the fence.
They probably maintain it better now because of not just because of that happening, but
that box on the ground, that's
like
Steve's drone box, and you can see the gate right there. We're passing the gate right now. And then the backpack, the backpack right there is where the bikes were. And just over the fence, I flew my drone up and over, and you can see there's like a iPad case there. You see it on the ground there. That's where he found, Drew actually found her purse, but it was overgrown. It wasn't trimmed back like that. So it was actually held up by the bushes. And there's that drain thing I was telling you about.
Sloop Intuition says, let me get it up for you. So slow. There we go. Oh, no, it jumped. Okay, has it come through? Yeah. Could they have bumped into the killer at the gas station, do you think?
There isn't a gas station around there that I'm aware of.
Well, the store that was mentioned. What about the store that was mentioned?
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's
Yeah,
what he means.
it's a grocery store. They don't have gas pumps or anything. But I don't think so, because they spoke to a person, an employee that was in the parking lot, probably picking up carriages or whatever. It's a big store, but it's not a huge store, like we're used
Yeah.
to. But somebody was out in the parking lot doing whatever, picking up carriages, trash, whatever they were doing. And the girl stopped and asked that gentleman, how do you get to the bike trail that leads down to the lake? And he told them, it's right at the end of this parking lot here. So they rode to the end of the parking lot, got off their bikes, walked them over the curb and onto the path, which is this wide as this here. The whole path runs through the neighborhood. You can mistake it as a road. So
Yeah.
my opinion is that there was a ruse to get him down there, and it started prior to them speaking to that gentleman. And we've all seen the video.
Yeah, Denise. Yeah, this is that case. Yeah. He says it's just the one that a lot of people thought was related to Delphi. It is, yeah.
It's not related,
But
though.
it's not related.
Right. But right at the end of this wooded area, it opens right up and it curves around to the left and it goes to the main road. And this house is right across the street. But even that, with the sound of the highway and all the foliage, you wouldn't be able to hear anything distinct anyway. So they could have backed their car up right on the left-hand side there. It's all grassy. They could have backed their car up right there and nobody really would have noticed them. You can see the homes across the street.
Yeah, you can see them, yeah.
And people would park
just
here
to let you
go
know,
fishing.
Yeah, just to let you know, at the top I've pinned the Evandale Facebook group that I've been having discussions with people in there. If you're going to go there, just be respectful. It's a private group, but if you're disrespectful and they boot you, don't come crying to me. I've also pinned True Crime Web's Mr. Steve's channel, and Aurora, can you drop Ruckus's drone footage, because I want people to go and watch that, because it's the full footage, and as he's walking you through it, he's explaining everything. Look, what he's doing here is minimal to what he did on the actual video.
Yeah, so you try and put yourself in I try and put myself in both places, in the victim's shoes and in the perpetrator's shoes. So if the girls, they may have known or were familiar with one of the abductors, if there was more than one. So that's why there wasn't a commotion. We don't know if there was a sign of struggle. Law enforcement is keeping most of the shit close to the hip. But this new DNA evidence is, let me see, Ruckus, what could possibly be hoping to see on that bike trail way back there? That must, what type of a ruse? I agree with you. I don't know. I don't know, Sleuth. The standard, help me find my puppy, or hey, do you want to go fishing? We've got some fishing poles, we're catching fish, or we got a little boat, or whatever. We have no idea at this point.
Well,
It's all speculation.
Clunder used to ask him if they wanted to help him and earn a couple of dollars. You know what I mean? Didn't he? Help me do this and earn a couple of dollars. Yeah. So,
but there's no telling, and especially if one of the abductors was a female, it makes it that much easier for them to abduct two female younger girls. But there's new DNA evidence. It's what's catching up is extraction processes. I tried to get Colleen Fitzpatrick involved with this for over a year. And the detective told me that the state had bought new equipment and they were waiting for it, so they politely declined that help. But it appears now that they do have that equipment where they can extract DNA and separate contaminated DNA. So you got to figure they have evidence.
I seen in the clip it said, you know, like with them being found outside, like any DNA that they've got from there. Not they didn't say like this is what they've got, but like the news anchor was like any DNA that was found outside, because of the elements, it would have got damaged. But with this new technology as well, they can restructure it. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I might be wording it wrong.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. It's I had to learn this stuff as well. So did Steve. I mean, Steve, he was forensics. He was in charge of forensics. He
Yeah,
knows his
Steve's
shit, but the
the one.
technology is constantly getting better. So he's learning as he goes to it with this new technology. But he's meticulous, and most forensics people are. So if they collected the evidence, you know, the bikes, the handbag, the evidence at the crime scene, at the not the crime scene, but the discovery scene. You know, they probably have way to extract it now because the girls still had their clothes and everything. So they've written 40 reports since they've gotten this new technology, and it looks like 30 of those reports were related to Evansdale. Now, until they release those reports, I tried to find out, but I was denied that information. But you know, I
you saying that they also said when they said that normally when the like say like Evansdale gave that, normally only one report would come back per case, but they've got, and then he said, but they're getting like 30 back. Do you know what I mean? That's amazing.
Yeah, well, I don't know, Frank, because I know enough about this new technology because, you know, I talk to Colleen a lot. She's fascinating to talk to, and I've talked to her at length about this stuff. So I don't know if it's usually just one report or a report per piece of evidence. So if there's 30 reports just on Evansdale, that means that they tried to extract DNA, whether they're successful or not. It sounds like they were, from 30 different locations. You know, so that could be, you know, one of the grips on the bike and then the back of the seat on a bike. You know, that's 2 different locations, stuff like that. Plus the clothes and the area around where the girls were found as well. I'm sure they did a really good job of collection there. But, you know, they may have found cigarette butts. The perpetrator may have urinated. You'd be amazed at what they can find. But because it was 6 months later, you know, I don't think they had the opportunity to do that much of research just because of the elements.
Yeah.
But it's promising.
Yeah,
This is the most promising news on Evansdale in 13 years. So it's
and the family really deserve it because that, you know, they haven't, you know, come out and attack law enforcement in the media. They've constantly, like, it's been a constant with the family, hasn't it? Like, you know, they've been like, we trust the law enforcement, you know, despite it being 13 years on. You know, I haven't found a clip where Drew's saying, you know, they need to do this, they need to, do you know what I mean? He said, no, I trust them. Let them do what they got to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very unique person. He gets frustrated. You know, I've seen him frustrated, but not with law enforcement, just with the whole thing, you know.
Yeah, he's human.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go. I
You know
didn't
what I mean?
want
He's
to say
human.
anything, but yeah. Drew's my buddy. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I
was
saying at the beginning. I was saying at the beginning how you've been out there, not only just been out there, but you know you've experienced the case through Drew's, like, you know, you know what I mean. Like you've sat with family members, you've talked to them, you've gone around and you've asked like questions of locals. So like what I wanted, what I'm getting at is, do you want to tell people like your relationship with Drew, like if that makes sense?
Yeah, when we go out there to Evansdale, we're there to work, right? The first year we went, the day of the bike rally, we actually went out to Seven Bridges because these wackos, they'll revisit the sites on anniversaries. A lot of serial killers do that. So we were doing work on that kind of stuff. But when I go there, there's always time for Drew. As soon as I get in town, I let him know that I'm there, and we usually get together immediately. But the last
I
trip,
mean,
I got to
you've
spend
done
more
everything
time.
with him, haven't you? You've sat down, you've talked the case with him, you've spent time with his family, you've gone out for
Yeah,
a beer with him, you've played sports with him,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's my
and
friend.
like he said to me, keep him in Florida, please.
Yeah, I would love to see him come to Florida, just to watch him sweat his ass off. The last time I went there, I got there on Friday night, and there was an ice storm, and I have a video of it. There was a good 3/4 inch of ice on my whole vehicle. It was crazy, and it was just like skating. You couldn't walk anywhere. But Drew he's very supportive of law enforcement. He understands the tasks that they have, in front of him. He doesn't think any of them are corrupt or stupid, or incompetent. He doesn't think any of that, which is
No,
refreshing.
yeah, he said that. Actually, I've got some clips here. Let's get. I won't play the clips yet because one, StreamYard doesn't let me name them now, so I don't know what's what.
Okay.
But here, I've got some questions that I made for you. So, do you think now that the case is solvable, in your opinion?
Yeah, I've always thought it was solvable. Otherwise, Steve and I wouldn't be putting forth the effort that we are.
Yeah.
There's just
Do
enough.
you want to tell people what it is that you've actually done, like in regards to this case, that's helped, or if you don't want to do that, do you want to tell them what your goal is with this case? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can't say exactly what we're doing, but our goal
Yeah.
was to listen. If somebody came up to me and confessed and said I did it, that means absolutely nothing. Nothing. That's hearsay. That won't even stand up in court. So Steve and I are aware of that. So what we're trying to do is find new evidence through different techniques, and that's all Steve. Steve's brilliant. The stuff that he's come up with, and keep in touch. I keep in touch with the detectives, and Drew. Keep in touch with him. But I really can't. I really can't say too much about what we're actually doing on the case. When it's
Yeah, that's
done,
understandable.
I will. And I'm here to tell you that it's just going to be a pat on the back for Mr. Steve. I help him with that kind of stuff. He's brilliant. He is a national treasure. He really is. He's an amazing man. He's very intelligent. He's meticulous. He's a hard worker. We didn't give a shit. We went out in those woods for over an hour And I've never seen so many bugs and mosquitoes and thickets and thorns and poison ivy, poison oak. And we stayed out there until we were done with what we had to do. When it would have been easy to just say, fuck this. You know?
Okay, so are there any publicly known suspects other than Michael Klunder? If so, could you name them and the reasons they're suspected?
Well, there's no, as far as that local area is concerned, there's not. There's whispers, stuff like that. But if you go in the Facebook groups, they're pretty opinionated from what I hear. I have, just from the work and the research that I've done, is how I came up with my POIs. I learned with Delphi, my friend. You know, don't trust anybody. Do your own work. So I was able to talk to enough people. I've talked to locals. I've talked to people that haven't lived there in 20 years that had suspects, people that they thought were suspect and stuff like that. So it's not just a willy-nilly, you know, read a couple newspaper articles or anything like that. I've spoken to probably, I don't know, 40, 50 people that are local to the area. Some aren't even willing to talk, you know, but some start not willing, but eventually they do. Yeah, I've got notebooks of notes and stuff like that. So
with the great news with the DNA technology, because you've been fighting for it since pretty much you went out there, do you believe we will have answers soon regarding maybe an arrest or a person of interest? Or
yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, you can use that information to exclude people too.
Yeah.
Now, there'd be no doubt if they got DNA from the bikes, it could be several people's DNA, family members, the victims, the perps, you know, and everybody needs to understand that just because they found DNA doesn't mean it's to the perp. And if they found a family member's DNA, does not mean the family member did it.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned the hard way how people run with shit. So we'll find out more once they release the fact that they're actually putting that out, that they're using this new technique, and they've got 30 reports thus far. You know, they're not even done yet. That's fantastic. And again, law enforcement uses the media.
So this next question I know the answer to, because when you said that you couldn't come on, I looked it up. But so I'm from the UK and Aurora's from Sweden. So for people that don't know Iowa law, do they have the death penalty? And if so, do you think they'll push for it?
I'm not even sure. I've never even checked to see if they have.
Well, they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if they do or not. That's all. You know me, dude. I hate the litigious stuff. Yeah, I like the investigating and
I could have googled a lot of these answers, like that anyway. But I wanted you to like give your opinion on it and that. But they don't have the death penalty, because when you said you couldn't come up, I was like, well, I'll look that up just in case. So they don't have the death penalty. Okay, so with Klunder, he was sentenced to 40 years for his first crime, and he only served 20 due to, air quotes, good behaviour.
Right.
Do you think the prosecutor in this case should push for a life sentence with no parole?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
No questions.
Yeah, no questions at all. I was surprised with Delphi that they didn't go after the death penalty because of the way it happened and what went down. You know, my thoughts were if they're going to put anybody to death, it's going to be whoever did that. They'll put him right to the front of the line. But they didn't even put that on the table, which surprised me. But this, like I was saying, you know, law enforcement uses the media as a tool. So they may already know whether or not they have good DNA, or if they have enough where they can investigate somebody or make an arrest. But whoever did it, if they're still out there, they're shitting their pants right now. You know, shit like
Now,
this will cause.
your friend Aurora has got a brilliant question here, and this is good because so can you ask if there's any statute of limitations in Iowa that could be important in this case, or so there's no limits regarding possible further charges? Because you know, like how in Delphi, they couldn't. I don't think they could have him for, was it kidnap because of the limitations.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
He's not familiar with the law, Aurora. If you did listen.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, whoever they get would be charged with murder, kidnapping. Depending, they may have them 2 counts of each, you know. So at least that. Yeah. At least that.
I remember in Delphi, they did, didn't they? They had to drop the kidnap charges, didn't they, in the end?
Yeah, I think that's because the way they charged it.
Yeah.
They would have lost because they did it like a felony murder, that he was guilty of kidnapping, and by kidnapping them caused their death. So I think that's why they did that. And they dropped that. I know they said that the statute of limitations had run out, but they also said to make the charges match the PC.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah.
But we should find something out soon on this DNA stuff to see what's going on with that. And again, you know, I extended the offer again to if you need help with that stuff, please let me know, and I'll have Colleen contact you. She can't contact them, and she can't just offer her service. They have to ask her.
Yeah. Okay, so final question on that. Do you want to talk about Drew and the family just for a few minutes? Like I'm talking about the family that you've met. You know how they inspire what you and you know what you do. Because you're not you okay. So you are a creator on YouTube, but I mean this side that people don't get to see. How like they inspired you to do it, like?
Yeah, well, you know, I have my own channel, right? I could be talking about all this stuff on my own channel. That's not my goal. My goal is to help Drew and the families. His kids are awesome. His ex-wife is awesome. His friends are awesome. His mom's awesome. I've met his whole satellite of friends, all the people that are around him, because I was able to go to 2 of those rallies. So, you know, they're all there. So I get to spend a lot of time with them there. But the main thing, my main purpose and my main goal is to continue to help with this case, work the case, not create content. You know, when it's all said and done, well, then I'll put out everything that Steve and I did, because people will find that interesting, what we did and why we did it and how we came up with that. But other than that, you know, it's just got to run its course. And you having Drew on the other night was awesome. It was perfect timing.
Well, someone messaged me saying, because I was literally just about to message you about it when you messaged me. The woman on Facebook said, you know, the guy who found Lyric and Elizabeth, like she was going to, she'd reached out to him to see if he wanted to come on, but I'm guessing it was too short notice. But she said she'd reached out.
Yeah, Steve sat down with him.
What's that? Sorry.
Steve sat down with him. Steve met with him, and Steve's confident that he and his mom and his dad, that they're no way involved with this. They just happened upon the girls.
Yeah.
There was a lot of coincidences there that would have made people believe that, and that happens a lot in a lot of cases. But he had nothing to do with it, and his name's Kevin, but he it's not even worth. I don't even want to speak with him. You know, after talking to Steve, to me it's a dead deal. He's already been cleared.
Yeah. Well, no, I think she just wanted him to come on, like, and see if he had anything that he wanted to add to the live stream and things like that. But I will message her and say, like, in the future, if he wants to, or even if he just wants to do like a quick pre-recording, and we can, like, I can put it out that way. And if you want, you can come in to talk with him as well, because you've.
Okay.
Like, this is like your case in a way, like, because it's not, and I don't mean like your case on YouTube. I mean you're personally invested. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not my case though. It's just it's a case that I'm working, and it's near and dear to me because it's been too long. You know.
Right. So before we wrap things up, because I don't want to hold Ruckus against his will, I'm going to drop the link. If anybody wants to come up, I'm going to limit you to 2 questions. If you want to come up and ask 2 questions or state your opinion, as long as it's respectful, state your opinion, and then Ruckus can then respond to it, or if it's a question, answer it. I'll do that now. Drop the link now. If you want to come up, but like I said, I'm going to limit it because I don't want someone having 20 minutes and then 5 minutes for the rest of them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fine. And while you're doing that, just you having him on your show the other night and getting to talk with him yourself and interact, you can see what a good guy he is.
Yeah, he's a genuine bloke. At
really
times, it didn't feel like, I was having a family member of like a murdered child on. He felt like I was in like the pub with him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's the way I like it to be. When I have people on, I want to make it like we're just sitting on the couch having a beer, talking. You know.
Well, you said that he said afterwards, didn't he, that he liked the experience rather than just being loaded with case questions.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm glad he enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yep. Well, he's I don't feel that I don't think he would turn anybody down for an interview. I really don't. But just knowing him and knowing what kind of person he is, it's a little bit easier for me to ask him some of the harder questions.
Yeah, because you've actually like sat down and cried with him, drank with him, laughed with him.
He's me mate. we'll be friends forever.
Yeah. You said that Drew would go on any channel and all that. I just want to point out as well, people out there, please do respect the families, though. Like, I'm not saying anyone here is doing that, but don't hound them for an interview. And if they don't want to, then start attacking them online, because we've seen it with multiple other cases and it needs to stop, because, families don't owe us as YouTubers or the general public anything. They're the ones that are suffering, and they're the ones that we're supposed to be doing this for. We're supposed to be putting information out for them, not, having them on. And then if they don't say what we want, so we go back to the drawing board and create some sort of conspiracy, because it's got to stop. We've seen it with Delphi. I've seen it in Dylan Rounds. I've seen it and it's tiresome, and I couldn't even imagine how the families feel.
And if I could just do a quick plug, without Steve, without True Crime Web and his foundation, it's called the True Crime Web Foundation. They have a website and everything. You can go to it. If Aurora, if you wouldn't mind looking up that and dropping the link.
I've actually, it's on his channel, isn't it?
Yes, but you can
So
donate to that with.
at the top of the chat, I've got the Facebook group that have helped share me out and that, and I've also got Steve's True Crime Web YouTube channel where he does forensic experiments to show you what goes on behind the scenes, and he's also got all the foundation stuff. What Ruckus is on about now, it's all over there. And if you actually go into one of his live chats, you'll find parents of the cases are in there.
Yeah, and that
They're in his
foundation
live chat
is what funds everything.
Yeah.
Steve and I don't get paid to do this stuff. We donate our time, and the foundation pays for everything. Pays for food, travel, lodging, everything. Taking the victims' families out to eat, all of that stuff. Without that, we couldn't do this. It cost for two of us to go for 10 days. It's ridiculous how much it is. It's like $16,000 for 10 days. And plus you add in any DNA testing that's done or anything like that. And you talk about logistics. Like I said, Steve doesn't fly, he drives. So he has to set everything up perfectly. And sometimes he drives for 18 hours straight to get to the next meeting with a DA or an attorney or a victim's family or a DNA lab or whatever. So he puts in the work. I'm here to tell you, he's amazing. I'm just his shadow. He's my Sherpa. He carries my shit for me. The first trip we went out there, I just had my shoulders replaced, and I really couldn't carry too much. So he would carry all my shit, and then he'd throw it in my face, make it look like, oh, I had to carry Ruckus's purse and all that. So I just started calling him my Sherpa.
Okay, so I've got on my StreamYard clips from what's his name, Drew. So I'm just going to go through one or two of them before we go. So I'm going to play this one. This is he's talking through. No, actually, I'm going to play this one first because he's talking about the girls here. So I thought this would be a nice clip to put in the live because I don't think, when he goes on live, he doesn't really get a chance to talk about the girls in this way. It's normally, how were they dressed and how were they found? Do you know? And I know I asked some of them questions, but he seemed to light up when he was speaking here. Would you want to tell us a bit about Elizabeth?
Oh, well, she was very bubbly, and she was full of it. Like, she was a really good sister. She played hockey. She liked baseball. She loved she had a dog named Gus that we had just bought her before, this happened, like probably a month before. She's just, a normal little 8-year-old girl. And it's crazy that, our kids can't even go and play without, somebody taking them. I see other young kids around without anybody around still. Kind of freaks me out because this guy's still out there. But yeah, it was just
so
she was
trying to.
She would get in trouble. Her and Lyric they were like sisters. They fought a lot, but then they would always get back together. They'd have like really dramatic fights, and then we would separate them, and then it would be time for Lyric to go home, and then they would be begging to let Lyric spend the night. We were like, you just fight, like 5 minutes ago. Now you want to. They were very close. More.
Do you hear the noise that I was on about towards the end? Did you hear it?
No, what'd you say? What was it?
The noise I was saying, did you hear it towards the end then? That I was like, do you remember when I was in the live and I muted you and I said, Ruckers, I think you can get feedback, and you was like, no, it's bugs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was the cicadas.
Oh, Bossie's here. I haven't seen. Oh, there she is. I can see her. She would smile when she was in trouble.
Yeah, she's a cutie. I have a bunch of pictures that Drew had shared with me, but I didn't feel it was appropriate to share them online. But I have them, and I look at them now and then. And she's a sweetheart. His other kids are great, and he's a great dad. He really cares about his family.
Yeah, you can tell by the way he was talking about him the other day. I didn't get the clip of, because I know he talked about his other kids, but I didn't get that clip because I didn't feel it was relevant to the Evansdale case. But it's different when he's on the panel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I understand.
So here we are. We're talking. Well, Drew's talking about the location in this one.
They won't tell me. They won't, like I said before, they won't even tell me if they know how they were killed.
Yeah.
So, but going back to, where the bikes are found, if you've ever been there, like Ruckus can say this because he's been there. Like, if you've ever been there, you know what we're talking about. There's fences on each side. There's a gradual slope going down to Arbutus. If you're riding your bike down there and you get to that point, somebody has their vehicle trunk open or something at the end of that, like in the woods. They could grab the girls there. Nobody can hear them on the highway side. Nobody can hear them in those houses. They could scream all they wanted. Nobody could hear them. So that's like what he said, the perfect place to take them. I don't think the bikes were just dumped there. I think they were lured there by some sort of ruse, and that person was waiting on Arbutus for them to come around there. And once they got to a certain point, there was nothing they could do. They couldn't have run out of there. They could have been grabbed, or one of them could have been grabbed and threatened with a knife or a gun, and the other one would have stayed. I don't think one would leave the other one. I think they would have, if they said, "Hey, don't do anything, or I'm going to hurt her," they wouldn't have left each other.
And even though it's a bike path, it's plenty wide for a vehicle. Drew, you've been on there all around there with your vehicle, right? Around the whole bike path.
Yeah, and they could have driven that, and like I drive on there, and it's supposed to be for official vehicles only, but I'll drive on there, and no one calls it in. No one.
So the image that you're looking at, chat, is an image of where the bikes were approximately located. They marked it out with either Ruckus's or Steve's backpack. I circled it to highlight it a bit better.
But it was on.
So this is the path.
It was tossed over the fence, so it was in the bushes right on the lake shore.
Yeah, the purse was. Yeah. See, that's over the fence. The bikes were leaned up against the fence inside the fenced area.
I don't know if they were leaned or on the ground. I can't remember, but the purse was over the fence.
Yeah. So. I think I'm going to leave it there for clips. I don't want to overwhelm with clips. And
now, one of the POIs, the guy that inserted himself in the case, he told the police that he found the bikes laying on the ground across the path. He was riding his bike, and he stood them up and put them up against the fence to get them out of the way. So
Oh, that's interesting. You know, 'cause I brought that up with cause me and Teddy were talking about that, and Teddy was like, "Well, they must have ruled him out somehow," but now we know different.
Well, yeah, he lawyered up, and I've tried to talk to
Okay.
him. He told me to go fuck myself, quote unquote. But he came the next day and told them that, hey, I found the bikes, because initially the first day firefighters found the bikes. Well, he went back the next day, and in my opinion, if he's a POI, it's because he was thinking, fuck, I touched those bikes. I forgot about that. So he's got to go back the next day and come up with a reason why he would touch those bikes. So he said that he was riding his bike and they were in the way, so he moved them, up against the fence. So if that's true, and they do collect DNA off it, his DNA will definitely be on those bikes, because they got that evidence. They got that day. Everything that was in that location, they got that day. It wasn't.
Aurora, can you do me a favour? Can you go over to Sleuth Intuition's channel? I think now I'm sure today he's got a live planned for Evansdale. So if he has, because I know he's pulled it back a few times, but if he's got it, if it's still up for today, can you drop the link to it in the chat? So if anyone who's listening in and wants to continue the discussion, they can go over to Sleuth Intuition. I think it's in 2 hours. It was booked for.
That's nice of
because
you.
he's been coming to my life, so least I can do is share his out, any.
Yeah, we should all support each other, to be honest.
That's it, yeah.
And it's like I said, I could be blowing my channel up right now with this shit, but that's not. When there's a resume,
your channel
I'm not going to be doing a live.
Look, your channel's dead in the water, mate.
Yeah, it is dead in the water. But
you only press live once.
I'll be with Drew when all that shit's happening. So, I won't have time to I'm not doing this for content, I was fortunate enough to meet Steve and be able to participate in this stuff. So
7 months ago on Sleuth Intuition. Is that his one with Drew? It's in free. Oh, so he's changed it again. Well, there you are, guys. Yeah, it's there for you.
Well, he's smart because, they may have more information by then, give some time. But law enforcement, they may come up with a DNA match or get DNA that is unknown. So they have to do that whole genealogy thing. But they still have to, this is just the beginning of getting somebody arrested. But it's probable cause. If they find somebody's DNA, that's they've investigated a whole bunch of people and the dots line up, well, then there'll be an arrest. There'll be enough probable cause for an arrest then. But like I said, if there is anything big that happens, I'm going to go to see Drew.
Yeah, go and spend some time with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think I'm going to leave it there because it's just over an hour and a half. Well, just under an hour and a half, sorry. I'm not going to be, like I said, I'm not going to jump on to Evansdale and throw it down everyone's neck like people did with Delphi, because I don't want it to, I don't want it to get the negative attention that Delphi got. And two, I don't want Drew to think because I've had him on that I'm now going to milk his daughter's case. What I will do is say in a month's time, if we haven't heard no updates or anything, I will do a live just to keep it out there, like I do with Flora. And I'll message the admin on the Facebook group and see what she wants to do, because she's been supportive of me, so I'll be supportive of her.
Brilliant. And this by no means, Steve and I are not stopping what we're doing. We're continue continuing to do what we've been doing this whole time. We're continuing down the same path until there's an arrest. So although this is good news, any news is good news for that matter, we're not stopping, just in case.
Yeah, Jinx, like if there's something significant that comes out, I'll do an update. But I'm not gonna just, like how a lot of the Delphi creators did Delphi content every day and that. I don't want to be doing that. I want to help as many cases get awareness as possible. So Evansdale's had my help that I can do now. Unless there's an update, I don't want to, because that's how it gets negative attention.
Yeah, if I find anything out, Gibbo, if I get anything that's worth reporting, there's other stuff that I'm aware of now that is not worth even mentioning until it gets a little bit further along. But when I find something that's concrete and all that, I'll let you know.
Yeah. All right then. Is there anything you want to say to everyone before you get out of here?
Nope. Kristen behind the crime door texted me, asked me to go live with her on Sunday night about Evansdale. So I'll be doing a live with Kristen on Sunday night.
There you go.
Yeah, she met Drew, and so she's vested in this. She loves Drew to death. So does Jinx and Rescue All the Dogs. It was awesome of them to come see him. Because Drew feels like people care. He doesn't know that this many people care for him. And that's Lofty's. That's the place that's right across the street from Drew's house.
So these people haven't just gone out to see the location, they've spent time with Drew as well. And Kristen's here on the right, just below Drew. She's going live Sunday with Ruckus to do an update on her channel on Evansdale. So if you want to go over to Kristen, most of you know who she is anyway. Jinx has dropped the link in the chat. Ruckus, I'll see you in Voices probably at some point tonight. Everyone else, behave yourselves and good night.
Good night.
Good night.